Welcome back, folks, to episode 18 of the Be Kind, Be Happy podcast with your hosts, Byron and Leigh. So we've taken about a month off. We've been very busy. Byron wrapped up his school semester, and then he went to a silent retreat. I've been focusing hard on my culminating assignments, and now I'm moving into my first placement. And so we're going to spend this episode primarily focusing on the powerful realizations Byron's had through his silent retreat in the mountains. And I hope you enjoy the episode.
All right, but as always, before we begin the podcast, let's begin with 3 deep breaths together. But this time we'll make it slightly different to the past times and do 5-second intervals. So when you're ready, eyes closed, back straight, shoulders rolled back, and taking the first breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Final breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathing out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you're ready, open your eyes slowly. Okay, let's begin the podcast. So for the last month, because Happy Learning Club, the learning center that I run in Thailand, was closed for the November month, and the school break was also happening in the November month. I had 4 weeks off, and so in this 4 weeks off, I planned it so that I would spend 1 week at a meditation retreat. 1 week would be traveling to Bangkok and Turtle Island with my partner. And the 3rd week would be just to prepare for the next semester and, just the preparation period for everything for the next phase, the next semester. So for this episode, Leigh and I are very excited to talk about the silent retreat in particular, because so much interesting things happened, so many realizations, and such an interesting practice that was taught at that specific monastery. So really hope that we can get into that. But before we do, let's get an update on Leigh and his last month. Leigh, how was your November, dude?
I had a great November. So I'm in school, so it's just like mostly finishing final assignments.
Nice.
And I finished them all, so I'm quite happy about that. And then on Monday I start my first block of student teaching, like in the classroom. So again, I'm excited about that, and it'll be nice because I've been online for the last 4 months, so it's been a little bit detached from everything. So it'd be nice to actually physically be there, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But so I'd like to start by just saying I'm excited to be back, dude. It's been a full month. I think our last episode, our last published episode was like beginning of November, end of October. So we've been a full month without publishing anything. And we had our Spotify review, and we had 34 countries. I'd viewed it just on Spotify alone, and I know we're up to about 55 countries across all platforms, which is it's awesome. Like there's no boost, but it's just acknowledging that how far we've come just from the first episode. So I'm appreciative of that.
Nice. Me too, man. Me too. For all those listeners, including yourself, thank you so much for listening. You're the reason why we keep doing this and why we feel so motivated every week. So thank you.
Absolutely. So to start, dude, I'd just like to get into the silent retreat, I guess. And so when was the silent retreat? About 2 weeks ago?
This would have been 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
I think it was from the 15th to the 20th. Thereabouts, 15th to 20th of November. It's 5 days. I wanted to do it the full week, but it got a bit too intense towards the end that I decided to shorten it a little.
Yeah, so So where was the retreat?
Yeah. The retreat was in a Buddhist monastery in the mountains, about an hour out of town. I live in a very small town, so an hour out, and you're in like the rural area. So this was a very
Yeah.
isolated mountain area, and this was right in the middle of the mountain area. So yes,
Was it still in Chaipum, or is it in a different
it's
province?
it would still be in Chaipum, but like the
Yep,
the
yeah.
outer side of Chaipum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's not a tourist area. If you're trying to visualize it, like this is central Thailand. Like we're like
Yeah,
what, five, maybe even 6 hours now north of Bangkok. So
yeah,
this is right, dab in the middle of Thailand.
that's it.
Yeah. So this is
There's
like,
no one living there. You're right. There's no
yeah.
tourist industry there. There's no one living there.
Well,
Just
there's Byron, so there is
yeah,
there is one,
yeah.
maybe just one.
But it's a
So
very quiet, peaceful, serene place.
yeah, so you went there, and again, you showed up, and what did that look like? Like, because you say it's a silent retreat. So for me, someone who hasn't ever done a silent retreat, do you show up? Are you already silent? Like, do you say hello, or are you
Yeah.
just is it like once you walk through that gate, is it like, dead silent? How does that work?
Well, I actually went in the middle of the silent retreat because I wasn't able to come in here earlier. So the retreat had already begun. And it's such a quiet place. No one's speaking, of course. And it's just, there's not that many people there anyway. So going in there, you immediately feel more respectful. You're immediately more mindful, more sensitive to the sounds and the sensations. And I had only brought a backpack with me, thinking that I'd live very simply, didn't want to have too many distractions or anything. We weren't able to have our phones with us, had no money on me. I didn't need any money either. And so I was just in a very small hut all to myself in the middle of the forest. It was really cold at that time. And I was very anxious for the first day. My partner had taken me there. She dropped me off. And as she was leaving, I thought, wow, this is it. I was nervous because of the environment that I was in. I felt like there could be, I felt very vulnerable to like the nature's forces, like the wind or the insects or the animals in the area or whatever. So I felt a bit anxious about that. And not having a phone with me was surprisingly made me anxious as well, because I didn't have anything that I could turn to if anything had happened. I felt so vulnerable, and if anything happened, I can't even speak Thai that well, so to explain instructions would be impossible. Would be very difficult.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
So yeah, I made my partner take my phone away, so I didn't have any options with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, the first day was very, very. I was very anxious.
So you got there, you settled in, you're anxious. So what does the routine look like? Because when I think of a silent retreat, I think of like, it feels like almost just a test. Like the whole time it's like someone's trying to make you talk or something, or you want to communicate, but you're just like, but that's not the case, right? You have like an agenda of some sort, right?
Yeah.
So what was the daily routine like?
Yeah, I think the schedule makes the entire retreat so like the way it is, right? It's all about the schedule and the
Yeah.
timetable. So the day starts at 3:30 when you wake up. They want you to wake up at 3 o'clock, but I wanted that extra half an hour sleep, so I woke up at 3:30, got ready for morning chant at 4 o'clock, where you chant for an hour until 5, and then you got 2 hours of meditation practice until 7. Breakfast until 8, practice again until 11. So that's the second block of 2 hours until 11. Lunch at 11 to 12. And then from 12 to 4, you have 4 hours of meditation practice. That's the third block. And then from 4 to 5, you can rest and do your showering. And then 5 to 6 is your third block, 1 hour. And then 6 to 7, five to 7. Yes, 5 to 7. So 2 hours. And then you do your evening chanting at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. From 8 to 9, you do your fourth block, 1 hour. And then you sleep at 9. So you have to get
Powerful.
rest as soon as you can. So in that day,
Yeah.
in that day, it's busy because from when you wake up to 12 o'clock, from 3 to 12 is 9 hours, 8 hours a day already. You've had 2 meals,
Yes.
5 hours of practice, and it's only halfway, and then you just go straight to the next half of the day.
Yes.
Another 5 hours, 6 hours practice.
That's powerful. And so just one more thing on that, just on the specific routine. So you talk about the chanting. So that is one part of the exercise that isn't silent. So that's something I wasn't aware of. So the chanting is like a group with the monks, with the master, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so for sure. So in the beginning, there'd be all the monks and masters. They're chanting and leading everyone else. We all have our books. It's in Thai, so I wasn't able to participate. So I would just close my eyes and, just maintain mindful and maintain a sincere mind and just listen to it. And so the chanting was in Thai. It was Buddhist verses because it's a Buddhist monastery. So they were just Buddhist verses. So we do that half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening, twice a day.
And if you don't have any experience listening to some chanting from monks, my experience, sometimes the monks would come to the school, whether it was like a different festival or a different special holiday for the year, like a Buddhist holiday, and they would have all the students in the gymnasium like sit down and chant with them, or just listen. And so I've listened through that, and it's intense. Like it really puts you in a trance. Like it's a really it's like rhythmic almost, and it just like takes you right in there. It's almost hard to think about anything else because it just sucks your attention, sucks your awareness, which is probably the purpose. So I just for anyone who has no idea about
Leigh.
that.
And you can also you can even feel the energy in the room,
it builds
the energy because everyone's so devout and so sincere and mindful. There's so much energy in the chanting that it really it rubs off on you, even though you don't understand the meaning. You still feel it. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like, you listen to music in a different language and you kind of you still get a feeling from the music, right? It's the same idea. So that's awesome, dude. And so that's a pretty hefty routine, eh?
Yeah.
So the next thing so maybe just take that in for a second. The next thing that I'd like to get into then is what specifically were your feelings throughout this retreat? So you know how you said you started out, you're feeling anxious, no phone. You're starting to actually maybe be recognizing that you have some sort of attachment to the phone, like we all do. Yeah. That's not uncommon. But then you're getting into this hefty schedule, and it almost seems like there's not much time to think about anything else. As much as you're meditating, so I guess you could think about anything, but there's so much structure there. It's not like you're going to be sitting in your room like, oh, I wish I had my phone,
Yeah.
So take me through the next day. Maybe you've done a full day of structured schedule through the retreat, and how are you feeling now?
Yeah, for sure. It took me the first full day to really get into it and understand the expectations, the routine, because I was only doing the routine as I learnt it on the go. I didn't have a full schedule to read from the beginning. And I was so surprised by the simplicity of the practice, because all it is during the meditation practices in the 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour blocks, all you do is sitting meditation until you want to have a move around. Then you move on to the walking meditation until you want to sit and become more still. You go into the sitting meditation. And so that's all it is. You're sitting and then you're walking, you're sitting and then you're walking. And when I realized how simple it was, I was able to put aside the thinking mind, that is always thinking about the future, thinking about my worries, thinking about what I should do next and everything. There was no thinking involved. Everything was taken care for us, taken care of.
So you found the present moment.
That's right. Just working on one sole task, which is the practice. The practice is just bringing your awareness to your body.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in meditation, there are specific hand movements, sets of 10 movements that you just do throughout the entire trip, the entire retreat. And you just place your awareness on your hands. When you
Okay.
think, when you go to a feeling, when you go to an idea or a thought, you just gently bring it back to
Go
your
back
body.
to the movements.
Yes.
Okay.
And
That's
so
fascinating.
so they train you to put your awareness on your body. And then when we do the walking meditation, we're just focusing on the steps. And they specifically said to not count or not recite the Buddha's name or not think about the practice. You're just doing it. You're just being aware of the body. And so there was no ideas involved in this practice. There was no thinking involved. There was nothing to think about. There was all it is just going grounding your mind in your body.
Yes.
Completely leaving the mind out of the practice.
Yeah.
And
so you're freeing your mind.
Yeah, freeing the mind or taking a break from the mind.
Okay.
You just don't need it right now.
Separating yourself from the mind, the two, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And in that process, they say that you develop a lot of insight, which is panya. And that's exactly what happened, you know.
How did the practices at this temple, the meditation practices, the structure, how did it differ from your experience as a monk in Taiwan?
Yeah, dude, that's an awesome question. First of all, this is just a retreat. So this is not what they do every day. This is just what they are doing right now, which is very, very intense, but they don't do that every single time, every single day. So, but what you asked is the difference between Theravada Buddhism, which is practiced in Thailand, and compared to Mahayana Buddhism, which is practiced in China. Chinese Buddhism and Thailand Buddhism is completely different practice. Only when I was there did I realize how different it was. It led to so many realizations because of so many things that I had misunderstood from my previous practice because of, different perspectives. So just to be very short and simple to describe the differences, I would say that when I was practicing Chinese Buddhism, when I was a monk in Taiwan, there was a strong emphasis on the mind, cultivating a good mind through the 3 acts of goodness, which is what we talked about. Speak good words, do good deeds, think good thoughts, purify your body and mind, and that is how you attain transcendence, Here
through Chinese Buddhism.
Yes, through Chinese Buddhism.
Okay,
that's how they
Chinese,
taught it. To cultivate the mind, purify the body, have great conduct, have a wholesome, positive mind. Get rid of all the defilements, get rid of all the anger, hatred. So all the focus was on the mind. But and so that's what I thought. For the past 5-6 years of my practice, I've just been trying to cultivate a good mind, which is how I came up with be kind, be happy, thinking that was the path towards the ultimate state. Being kind and happy is how you purify your mind. And so at the monastery, instead of focusing on the mind and cultivating a good, wholesome mind, the mind was not even part of the practice. It was just return to your awareness, understand where your awareness is, and cultivate control of your awareness. So place your awareness on your body. When your awareness jumps to your mind, slowly bring it back to the body. So I was so fascinated because I had so many questions about the previous practice of cultivating the mind, thinking that I'm still abiding in the realm of duality, where there's good, there's bad, where there's right, there's wrong, where there's yes, there's no, where there's happiness, there's sadness. So cultivating all the wholesome virtues and qualities felt like there was something missing because everything only is because of all its opposites that allow its existence to happen. For example, what I mean is you can't have good without bad because good is defined by bad. You can't have happy without sad because happy is defined by sad. If you didn't have sad, then what would happy be, And so cultivating the good mind and body, I feel like there was something missing. But here, when I was just told to bring the awareness to the body, I was able to access moments, like periods, where there was no thinking mind because my awareness wasn't on my mind. It was just on the body. So I would just be very focused and aware of my body movements, my hand movements, my feet walking, and there'd be no thought arising. And I would just be in the motion of it. And that was how I was able to tap into the realization of what awareness was. Awareness, for me, it finally made sense.
It's just interesting to be such a difference between the two, right? Between the Chinese Buddhism and the Thai Buddhism. And one thing you told me about earlier was the language. So not only were you was the practice totally different, but you were actually hung up on a Chinese word, I believe.
Yeah, dude.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, dude,
can you go into that?
That was the entire game changer, because maybe it was just my understanding of the practice that was different. The difference in Thailand Buddhism and Chinese Buddhism, I think maybe it was just my understanding of the terminology, the vocabulary in Chinese Buddhism. But if I was to apply it differently, then it'd be the same. What I mean is, in Thailand, what they taught me last month was to be aware of your body, be aware of your mind. And so if you translate that in English, you'd say, aware of the mind, watch your mind, observe the mind, observe, just observe. And then in Chinese Buddhism, they would say that the mind is sin, X-I-N, but awareness, they would also say as sin, X-I-N. So awareness and mind, they would have used the same terminology for that, but they're clearly two different things. So when they was telling us to observe the mind, I was always thinking, what do I use to observe the mind? And they say, use your mind. Because they say sin, use your sin to observe your sin. So I was just always thinking that they're the same thing. So how can you use something to observe itself? It's like you can't touch your thumb with your thumb. You can't smell your nose. You can't see your own eyeball. Because your eyeball is the seeing, your thumb that you're using to touch is what's touching. You can't touch yourself, because then you're creating. Only when you have a object-subject duality can you then use the object to observe the subject. But in Chinese Buddhism, when they're saying observe your mind, I was always asking, with what? And then they would say mind. But then it didn't make sense. But the moment I understood it as two separate things last month, then I was able to completely separate the two and then identify and observe or become aware of the nature of awareness, which is that is able to differentiate and observe all the six realms, being the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, tongue, and the mind. And that just led to so many realizations that just came one after another because of that simple clarification of mind and awareness, and them being two separate things.
So that's really interesting. And so one thing I'm kind of wondering about is, like, how do you know? And what does that feel like or look like?
Yeah, dude, honestly, great question. And that's the doubt that I always had for the past 5 years. I would always doubt myself, thinking, is this the right way to practice? Is this it? How do I know? Like, what's the next step? And there was always that doubt in my mind that prevented me from being full throttle. And so the monk at the monastery in Thailand last month, he gave me a very, very basic exercise. So I can do it with you, Leigh. So he said to me, close your fist and then put it in front of you. And then he'll ask me, is your fist open or closed? So Leigh, is your fist open or closed?
Closed.
Okay. And then if you open your fist, Leigh, is your fist now open or closed?
Open.
Okay. So the monk asked me, how do you know that your fist is open? My response was, My response was, because I can see it and I know that it's open.
I can observe it.
So then he said, all right, step 2 is now you close your eyes and then you close your fist. And he asked me, Leigh, now is your fist open or closed?
Closed.
Okay, your fist is closed, your eyes are closed, so you cannot see. So how do you know that your fist is still closed?
I just know.
Okay, you just know. That's right. And then the third step, he said to me, was now place your fist, Leigh, behind your back. So now it's completely out of your sight. And he said, open your fist now. And keeping your eyes closed, is your fist now open or closed, Leigh?
It is open.
Okay, and he would say, what if I said to you, so I'm Byron saying, Leigh, dude, why are you saying that your fist is open, your hands are open, it's closed? Would that change your mind?
Part of me wants to agree with you because I trust you, but but no, it's definitely open.
Exactly.
Just
And then then he would say, what if the Buddha came before your eyes right now and said, Leigh, your fist is closed. Why do you keep saying that it's open? Would that change your mind?
that would be really difficult to handle, but my hand is definitely open, so
That's it.
I'd have to say it's open.
And so that's exactly my thought process, my steps as well. I just kept saying, I know that my fist is open or my fist is closed. And the monk said, okay, so that knowing nature is unshakable. So when you know something, no one can deter your thought. No one can change your mind because you've known from within that you know how it is. And to use the practice in this analogy, your knowing mind is the mind of observing, and then your fist would be the awareness. So when you put your awareness on your fist, you know that your fist is open. They say, why do you know it's open? You know because your awareness is on the fist, and the knowing nature knows that it's open or closed. So from that analogy, it made me realize that it completely cleared my doubts when I realized, okay, I am aware right now. I know I am aware. How do you know? Because I know. I know where my awareness is, and I know that I am aware. And so that was a complete game changer as well, because it led me to realizing what being aware was. And how do you know that you know? One friend that I explained this idea to said to me, I think a very easy way to know that you know that you're aware, is to be able to identify what you're aware of. So wherever your awareness could be on sight, on sound, on taste, on thoughts. As long as you know where your awareness is, then you're observing reality through the lens of the knower, observing your awareness. And so this is very deep, because now I was cultivating my awareness, just moving and controlling my awareness. And so what the awareness was aware of became much less significant, because I wasn't dealing with that anymore. I was dealing with my awareness. So my awareness could be on thoughts, on feelings, on my body, on the sounds outside, but there would be a separation between me and the body and the thoughts, because I was observing it. So I felt disconnected from it. There was like a layer of separation. And so that was crazy, because then it made me realize experientially that I knew without a shadow of a doubt that the thoughts were not me, because I was observing the thoughts. And there was a very clear, distinct separation between the knower and the thought that just happened to be there, and the awareness being on it. If the awareness was on another thought, was on something else, then that wouldn't have arisen in the awareness. So just because it arose in the awareness doesn't mean that I identify with it anymore, because anything could have arisen in that awareness, or the awareness could have been placed in any other thing, and there's no need to identify with things like that.
Wow. So I would say that you have officially woken up.
No, dude. So that's the next question, right? Like, what?
That's
now?
what it feels like talking to you, man. I can feel it.
So that was definitely a level up. Like, I definitely did feel like I had taken it to the next level by knowing how to cultivate awareness, not knowing how to be aware, what it is, and the practice makes sense now. You know, it's about being aware, knowing where your awareness is, and not being so attached to the things that you're aware of, because it's irrelevant to you what you're aware of, because it's not you. The moment that we identify, that's when we become to suffer and feel pain and anxiety.
And that's where the ego comes in.
That's it, because we're observing the ego. We're observing everything that makes the ego, with the thoughts and the feelings and the ideas.
So how would you say your meditation practice has changed since this realization?
And so in the monastery, they talked about, eventually you get to the point where you can place your awareness on itself. Be aware of the awareness. And so this is my meditation practice now. I am just able to very effortlessly be aware of what I'm aware of. And what I noticed is something that's very interesting and very hard to explain, that I haven't really tapped into yet, because you can go so deep. But I start to realize that the awareness is observing my mind. So the awareness on the feelings and thoughts, but then the feelings and thoughts shape how the awareness perceives. And so it's almost like a link where the awareness is on the mind, but then the mind controls the awareness, which observes itself. And so it's almost like in meditation, when you're observing yourself through the awareness, you're closing the link, you're closing the cycle, and it just feels very surreal. It feels like you're just placing your awareness on yourself, on itself. So you're the mind that's placing the awareness on the mind. And you realize in this whole process, neither of them are you. You're not the awareness or the mind, because you can see the interaction between the awareness and the mind. And so that is what meditation is now for me, is just I'm placing awareness on itself being the mind. So I'm using the mind to place the awareness on the mind. It seems like beyond that, the mind needs the awareness to exist, and the awareness needs the mind to exist. And they are both independent of one another. It's like having big and small. Big needs small to exist, small needs big to exist. And those are both reliant on each other. And if one was to fall, the other one cannot survive on its own, which just shows this dependent origination of the mind and awareness. So both of them are conditioned, both of them are illusory, and both of them are not ultimate reality.
Powerful, dude. Very powerful.
I'm still getting there because I slip into absent-mindedness, and then I just go straight into like a thought train, go into like just being stuck.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, I find that through that state of awareness, I become less reactionary.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, for one thing, when you're in that mindful state of awareness, then you immediately see the thoughts and feelings arise as they do.
Yeah.
And so you're able to become much more responsive to it as opposed to reactionary.
Yeah, and then there's no ego in it too. So you can recognize like this, this may make me react in this way, but then you almost have more control over yourself, right? Like then you can decide, okay, well, I'm not going to react that way. But if you are absent-minded, as you said, then you're just in this constant state of reaction. And that's the whole, that's one of the real problems in our world right now, is that so many people are in that constant state of reaction. They're just reacting to stuff maybe that even happened to them when they're like not even in the present moment, right? They're reacting to stuff in the past in their mind or in the future, like, oh, this could happen. So now they're getting upset, stuff like that. And so that's why, like, most spiritual teachers or awakened people, they talk about finding the present moment, right? Like the power of now. And that is the awareness, because once you're in a state of awareness, you're in the present moment, and that is the power of now. So that's very fascinating what you're talking about. And I totally, I don't totally get it, but like I'm working on it.
Yeah. And so like Leigh, with cultivating the awareness, it's so much easier than I expected, than I thought the practice would be, because before I was trying so hard, applying so much effort in trying to cultivate the good mind, the wholesome mind. Whereas this cultivation of awareness is just merely just knowing where your awareness is, and then you're mastering your awareness, you're controlling it, you're strengthening it. And so it's not about what you're doing exteriorly. It's just about, do you know where your awareness is? Like, are you able to maintain aware of where your awareness is all the time? So you could be doing the things that you deem bad or naughty, like having a cigarette or, going on social media. But as long as you're doing that mindfully, you're still cultivating your awareness.
No, I don't think you should say that.
Because before in my practice, I was so stressed and so uptight about trying to be perfect in my conduct and the way I think and say, that I was always uptight. I felt very stressed and I felt very rigid sometimes, thinking that, I was so judgmental of myself and as a result, other people. Because if someone was saying something wrong or bad or, disrespectful or whatever, I would always feel like this is wrong, this is bad. I have to change it in myself, or I have to correct it in other people. And now when I start to realize that this is not the entire practice, there's more to it than just the wholesome practice. There's also the cultivating your awareness. Because if you're not cultivating your awareness, you're still abiding in the realm of duality. The awareness is what takes you out. The awareness is what you're able to use that isn't arising or passing away. Yeah. And so by cultivating the awareness, it really lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders, because I was able to practice much more freely, much more openly, much more, in a relaxed state, because I don't really have to always focus on changing myself, changing the way I think, changing what I say, because that felt a bit forceful sometimes. It felt a bit like I wasn't accepting of who I am immediately, and that I felt like there was something inherently wrong with me, which is why I had to change myself. This practice of just cultivating the awareness is just more, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, but make sure that you're aware, that you know where your awareness is. You're observing the practice as it happens. There's more durability in that, because you don't tire out as much when you feel that you're doing it in third person, as opposed to doing all the hard work first person.
And through cultivating the awareness, you're developing like the skill of staying in that present moment. Yeah. So in the past, when you found the present moment, it's typically, just reflecting on myself, it's typically in things you really enjoy, because then it clears your mind of anything, other than what you're doing, right? Something you're really passionate about. But if you've cultivated your awareness, then you can remain in the present moment, theoretically doing anything, not just doing things that you're super passionate about. So then you can do tedious work in the present moment, and then you can do it better. And so there's so many benefits there. You can free yourself from your everyday suffering in a lot of ways by finding the present moment. And people do that, again, through working out and stuff like that. But if you can do it just sitting, just with the mind, just in meditation, that is ultimate. That's like the ultimate goal, because that is effortless, right? Like, it takes skill and determination, but once you develop that skill, it's effortless. Like, you're just placing your awareness, right? As you said. So I think that's a really important takeaway an important takeaway that I've got from what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. Like, cultivating our awareness is cultivated in everyday life. But when we're doing sitting meditation, we're able to focus much more clearly where the awareness is, because everything else is still. When our awareness is not jumping from thought to thought, from feeling to feeling, from sound to visuals and everything, when we can slow the mind down, when our awareness can be honed in, then we can realize that the awareness is not moving anymore. And there's so much clarity in that. When the awareness is there, when there's no thought, or when there is a thought, there's only that one thought. And then you can move to the sound, and there's only that sound for like 10, 20, 30 seconds. Then there's only just, the breath for 30 seconds to 1 minute. And then you start to realize that thoughts are they're just there in the background. They arise, they pass away. And then it's so much easier to not be so involved in thought and thinking.
You lose the attachment. Yeah. And I feel like what you're saying as well is it's not accidental. right? Like the present moment, the awareness. When you're focusing on that, it's no longer accidental. It's not like you had a good day or you had a day where you're really in the zone accidentally, you know? So this can be applied to like all aspects of life. Like this could make you a better athlete. Like there's so many little, like it's just ticking little boxes in that field for me. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
that's pretty much what they refer to as the flow state. When
yeah,
professional
yeah,
athletes enter the flow state where there's no I, there's no self, they're just in the motion
yeah,
of what they're doing, and they're able to tap into like the creative mind, the mind of free flow thinking, the mind that's not always thinking about, you know, like anxious thoughts and ideas. They're able to just zone in and focus on that one task. And it's really just by doing that can we maximize our potential and our productivity.
if you're present when you do it, you're going to do it better. Like, you know,
Yeah,
it's very incredible to think that you could do something better with distractions in your mind. I think it's impossible.
yeah.
Or it's just accidental, right? And that's the whole thing. Like, there's no, that's just random chaos, as you've said to me before. So, Byron, to conclude the episode, what's one final takeaway that you have for the viewer?
Yeah, I think definitely it's so fundamental, so important that all of us is able to become aware of our awareness and know where it is and how to cultivate it. Because unless we learn how to cultivate our awareness, then we're only just living in our sight, in our thoughts, in our feelings, in our sounds, and not being able to separate from it. And only by tapping into awareness are we able to create that layer of separation. And so to cultivate and to train this nature of awareness, the first thing is we have to understand what are we aware of. And the fact that you know that you're aware of that shows that you are aware of where your awareness is. And so the awareness is aware. And so that's how you know when you're aware of where your awareness is. So Leigh, this is actually very easy to show and easy for us to understand for ourselves. If I was to just ask Leigh very simply, Leigh, are you aware right now?
Yes, I'm placing my awareness and my attention on your voice.
Good. So that means that you're aware and you know that you're aware because you know where your awareness is. And that's all there is to it. Maintaining your awareness on your awareness and keeping that unbroken throughout the day. And when you do jump into absent-mindedness, then just gently bring it back. And that's the entire practice. That's how we cultivate our awareness, strengthen it, have more control of it, over it. Then we can move our awareness freely, and then we can decide where we want to place our awareness in places that serve us, you know, that are productive and positive for us.
Beautiful. So, as always, folks, remember to be kind and be happy. And we look forward to continuing this podcast.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye, everyone. See ya.
Peace.